everyone, and welcome to another anime manga monthly pickups video or bi-monthly pickups video. This is for the second half of May. There's quite a lot of stuff here. If you've been following my Twitter or even my previous videos, my unboxing video, you'll know that I have a huge amount of manga to get through today. So I'll try to work as quickly as I can. There is quite a stack of anime here as well, so hopefully this won't run too long. Apologies in advance if it does. But rather than spend too much time on this intro, I'll just get to it. So first of all, we have the second half of kind of what a lot of people would call a disappointing sequel, and that is Eureka 7 AO or Astral Ocean or AO or whatever you want to call it. This, you can probably see, is the Australian release with the giant logo or ratings logo on there. Similar to the US release, obviously, same amount of episodes, same cast, everything like that. But unlike the US release, it is Blu-ray only. This is generally the trend in Australia and the UK. We don't really have very many shows that are combo packs. In fact, I don't think we have any shows at all that are combo packs. It's either you buy the DVD or the Blu-ray. They come separately. But yeah, so I do actually like this season. I'm not a huge diehard fan of Eureka 7, so the fact that it's not like nearly perfect or whatever or live up to the original's greatness doesn't really affect me that much. So I did like this show like as its own thing, and I think it did recapture a lot of stuff that they tried to do in the original, but looking more so at kind of the political side of Japan's issues currently. It's an interesting thing, in my opinion. So I liked it for what it is. It's not the perfect show, obviously, but, you know, still lots of fun watching mechs surf. So yeah, this I bought on eBay, I believe, and didn't cost that much. And so now I have the entire series. I'm just putting it in my US limited edition of the season. And yeah, so I have the entirety of the show now, and I have already seen it, but I'm glad to kind of get something out of the way of purchasing wise. Next is another series which I think some people would call a disappointing sequel, and that is Robotics Notes. This is part 2 of the series, this is the UK release, so I bought this off of Zavvi. They were having a sale on certain titles. I bought this and another thing, which you'll see coming up, but Robotics Notes I really enjoyed, again, as its own thing. I don't think it necessarily had to be as great as Steins Gate. It was just a fun little tie-in that they're set in the same world and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I have again seen this show. I just had put off buying the second half for a long time just because I've already seen it. I'm not in a huge rush to rewatch it. But yeah, again, typical for the UK and Australia, we have just the Blu-rays rather than a DVD Blu-ray combo pack. And again, I just have it and I'm putting it into my US limited edition release of it. So again, have the whole series. This sort of thing I'm not gonna sell. Like, majority of my collection I don't sell on. I collect it for me because I like the show. So the fact that, you know, they're from different publishers and whatever, not an issue to me. I don't mind. So yeah, now I have the entirety of Robotics Notes. Next is the other thing I got in the Zavvi sale, which is Musashi, the Dream of the Last Samurai, which is a film by Production IG. I haven't ever really heard anything about this film, so I'm kind of going into it blind, but it was really cheap, so I'm not complaining, even if it's like a horrible... Well, I'll complain if it's a horrible film, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure what to expect. Yeah, as you can probably guess from the title, it's kind of the fictional retelling of Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary swordsman of Japan. Same individual in which the Vagabond manga is based off of, real life or suspected real life figure. So yeah, I'm kind of interested in this. Like I said, it was cheap, so not too out of pocket if it's a horrible film. But I'm interested to see how it is. Next is another film. This one is actually a rebuy. This is the Australian release of Fullmetal Alchemist: The Sacred Star of Milos. So the film from the Brotherhood part of the Fullmetal Alchemist animated franchise. I really like this film. I got this just so I could put it into my Brotherhood box set, so I'll have the full thing in there. Yeah, I've already seen this movie. I already own this movie. But it's a lot of fun. If you like Fullmetal Alchemist, I do recommend you watch this. If just for the world building, it gives you a lot of kind of background information on Amestris, the country where Ed, Al, Winry, Mustang, everyone lives, as well as kind of their immediate neighbors and the politics going on around there. It's very interesting. Different art style or animation style again, and I actually really enjoy that. I like seeing how different teams interpret the same characters in different ways. So yeah, Fullmetal Alchemist: The Sacred Star of Milos, good film. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, not much to add there. Next is another film. This is actually the UK release of A Letter to Momo by Hiroyuki Okiura. Pardon me. If you like Ghibli films, this is very reminiscent of it. It's done by Production IG and very much Shinto based. So if you like that sort of thing in your movies, I do recommend it. It's quite magical. Typical to a anime limited release, it does have the slipcover, then the chipboard box, the digipack, which on this case has two sides rather than a continual spine or continual image, and then the two discs, so Blu-ray and DVD. And of course, like most, if not all, their releases, it has a booklet with interviews and other information. It took them a long time to get this film out, but as per usual, their quality is fantastic, especially for the price. In my opinion, at least, for the same amount of money here in Australia, you really don't get anything like this, which is why I do always, and even the US, you rarely get a quality of this type in your anime releases. So I don't actually mind waiting just a little bit longer to get something that I know that I'll enjoy having in my collection. So I think Anime Limited did a great job with this release, and it's a wonderful film. I do recommend everyone watch it. Finally, for the anime Blu-rays, we have the US release of Black Butler, or Book of Murders. This is the most recent part of the Black Butler franchise to be animated. They are doing a film in the next year or so, which adapts the next arc. But this is a 2-episode OVA. Yeah, 1 and 2. Adapting the Manor Murder arc of the manga, which is it's a bit of fun, honestly. It's not meant to be taken too seriously. It has a character called Arthur, or who is meant to be Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of Sherlock Holmes. So it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, this mystery that happened here inspired him to become a novelist, for a mystery novelist. It's a bit of fun. And for what it is, it's not bad. I'm glad to have this part of the franchise in my Black Butler collection, and I'm looking forward to the film, definitely looking forward to the film, as that is my favorite part of the manga that's being adapted, the luxury cruiser arc. Yeah, so finally is a DVD release. This is, as you can probably see, Kyo Caramel, God Save Our King, Season 2, Collection 2. This series, it's actually 3 seasons. It was released, 2 seasons of it was released in English by Genion, and then Funimation, and in the US, and then by Madman here in Australia. Both seasons in the US were released in 9 individual volumes, and then later like complete collections. Australia, the first season was released in the 9 volumes, but the second season was actually released in these 2 half-season collections. So this is actually, it's only 3 discs, but it contains the second half of the second season, episodes 59 to 78, as you can see there. So rather than having like 2 big singles box sets of this here in Australia, we had one of those and then 2 slimline DVD cases like this. It is very hard to find this show over here. I'm still hunting for some parts, but I have always really wanted to try this series. So when I found this one on like a pawn store's website, I picked it up. Just because I do want to watch the show. The discs are in relatively good condition. There's a couple light scratches, but nothing that would really affect playback. And this part is one of the harder parts to find, so I'm glad that I got it for a very good deal. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to watching the series whenever I can hunt down the rest of it. Now next is something I never really get, just because I'm not a gamer. You may have noticed that about me, but I don't play video games at all. We have a PlayStation 3 console, but it's pardon me. It's mainly used for Blu-ray, watching Blu-rays, or the apps, YouTube, Crunchyroll, Anime Lab, that sort of thing. I have no skills whatsoever as a gamer. I didn't grow up with video gaming, so I just don't play them now. Saying that though, there was a special on this. It was like $20 from a game website that has kind of specials on a bunch of different things, but mostly video games. And this one isn't really a video game, it's a visual novel. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to actually play through this and not fail horribly because of my lack of gaming skills. And that is Steins Gate for PlayStation 3. Yeah, so obviously this is the source material for the Steins Gate series. And it's fully voiced by the Japanese cast. I'm really looking forward to kind of getting to play the entire story. I've played the prologue and the first chapter of this already. And I can handle it, which is always good. I can actually, get from point A to point B. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to kind of getting a more full-on experience for Steins Gate. And, yeah, wish me luck, because I will definitely need it. And the last thing that I'm going to show you before we get into manga is the first volume of the Baccano light novel. This is The Rolling Bootlegs by Nyogo Narita. If you don't know Baccano, you've only ever seen or read Durarara, I highly recommend it. This is my favorite by far out of the 2. The novel itself is a lot of fun. It took me a little while to get into the Durarara novel, where this one I was pretty much in there, even though I had already experienced the story in this one from the anime. Yen Press has done a fantastic job, or Yen On, I should really say. It's hardcover. It has all the, most light novels, it has the full color inserts at the very beginning. The artwork throughout is not the best, but I think that's an overall, just it being the first volume out of an incredibly long franchise that was published years and years and years ago. And I've heard from many fans who have already read the light novels that the art drastically improves by volume 5 or 6. So we'll see how that develops. I've already read this. Great story, great translation. A little bit different than how it's presented in the show for obvious reasons. So it's really interesting, kind of reliving a story I already know through reading it and from the source material. I highly recommend it, especially for light novel fans or fans of Narusa's other work, or Bakuno fans in general. It's a great series. There's over 20 volumes of the light novel in Japan, so it's a long one, but definitely worth it. Definitely worth it, especially from what I've read so far. So I'm going to do my manga now. There's a lot. I'm going to try and be quick. The first thing I'm going to show you is something you've probably already seen before if you've seen my unboxing video. So again, I'll try to go quick. But that is The Grey Man. So I have volumes 1 and 2, 3 and 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 14, 15, and 16, 17, 18, 21, 22, 23, and of course the most recent volume, 24. So that is not the entirety of the series, but I think a good 17 volumes out of the 24. Quite a majority of them. I had always wanted to try The Grey Man. I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's fairly well regarded amongst, shonen fans. It's kind of been likened a little bit to Fullmetal Alchemist insofar as it being kind of a similar sort of setting. It's not exactly the same, obviously, but I think at the time when the anime was coming out, or both animes were coming out, people kind of grouped them together a lot. So I have been reading it. It's very good so far that I've read up to volume 7. A couple gaps to fill still, but I'm looking forward to reading the rest. And I've heard it gets really, really good, like right now where I am. And it has, I'm definitely, itching to read more. And I hope that I will get to in the near future. Now next is the other manga I got from the sale. Again, another Viz series. If you've seen my unboxing video, you know what this is. But it's Hiroyuki Asada's Tagami Bachi. And I got quite, again, a lot of these volumes. Not the entire series. Only a few gaps to fill in. But I already had volume 1 of this. And thought I should probably get the series whilst it was very, very cheap. And so I did. So I have volumes 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, 15 of which you wouldn't have seen in my unboxing video because it came a little bit later than the other volumes for some strange reason. And finally 16 and 17. I know that volume 18 is already out. Volume 19 is coming out next month or the month after, not sure. And there's 20 volumes in all with this series, so I've got almost all of it. I can read almost all of it, and I am looking forward to it because, again, I've heard good things. I have the art book for Tagami Bachi as well. The artwork, as you can see from the covers, is phenomenal. The use of colors, especially the blue, purple side of the color wheel, is phenomenal, as well as the warm, like, yellow, red as well. Very, very beautiful balance. And the final large lot of manga I have here, which was also my unboxing video, was actually something I bought from eBay. It's the entire 14 volume series of Josei, which was released by Tokyo Pop several years ago, obviously before they went bankrupt and ceased publishing manga. I don't know if they went bankrupt, but they ceased publishing manga. And that is Yayoi Ogawa's Tramps Like Us. So there's volume 1, volume 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this is, volume 7 was the one I just finished reading, so I'm halfway through the series currently. 9, 10, 11, 12, and finally 13 and 14. This series is quite strange. I'm not a huge fan of the setup, which is this woman, a professional, very high ranking, but is very shy and like doesn't really have many friends because people think she's so standoffish. But she takes in this young guy who she just finds outside her apartment, and he becomes her pet. So rather than having like a dog or a cat or a fish like most people would, she has this young, I think he's a teenager, young guy living with her, and it's just that, like, she just treats him like her pet, but in doing so, she's like forms this emotional attachment to him. It's a very weird setup, but it is like a romance. Like, there's other stuff going on in her life, or the man she's dating, trying to hide the fact that she's living with like this teenage boy in her house, and treating him like a pet. Everyone knows she has a pet, but nobody knows it's a person aside from her best friend and like a couple of his friends that he knows. It's a weird setup, but it's gotten better as I've read more of it. It's interesting to see how the whole situation develops and how the characters change as people. It's interesting. Definitely not for everyone, but it is interesting. I'll give it that. And I do like it. It is a very realistic, I think, josei, insofar as the characters are. They do actually act like human beings, which is not something you can always say for a lot of manga series. So I'm looking forward to see how Sumire and Momo get on in this series, and hopefully it'll be well worth it. It's kind of quite well regarded, so I'm not too worried. And finally, we can get to sale manga. So first of all, I have 2 volumes of My Hero Academia, which are volumes 2 and 4. I already have volumes 1 and 3 from my last video, so I'm completely caught up with My Hero Academia, and I really like this series. I think it's a great story overall, and it's it's kind of a heartwarming story of how this manga got into publication. So if you don't know anything about Kohei Horikoshi, the mangaka, definitely look it up because it is well worth the read. Next is volume 14 of Noragami Stray God, by Adachi Toka. You should know by this point. If you're not reading Noragami, you definitely should be. This volume was incredible. I say that about all the volumes, but really the story just doesn't let up. It's constantly good just the entire time. Definitely a lot of development for various characters and a lot of fun, and I mean serious stuff going on as well. It's one you should definitely pick up. If you're not caught up with Noragami, you should be, because there is some seriously good stuff happening in the manga right now, and I cannot wait for the next volume. And then there's only, I think, two volumes after that, and then we're completely caught up with Japan, and the monthly releases will stop. And I'll be sad, but also happy because I won't have to buy one every month, but really sad because I'll have to wait like everybody else in Japan, not just, within the English-speaking community. But Noragami, great series, definitely pick it up. Next is the 3rd volume of Izumi Tsubaki's Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. Phenomenal, hilarious. I really, really enjoyed a lot of this manga. I was a fan of the show. That was how I was introduced to it. And even though this is a 4-panel series, like such, there is still kind of an overarching storyline going on there, and it works really well. I don't know how Tsubaki does it, but it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. You don't necessarily laugh out loud like when you're reading it, but there's just something about it. You grow really attached to the characters. The first two volumes weren't hilarious to me. They were funny, but like kind of a like internal giggle rather than like, oh my god, that was so hilarious. But you really you grow attached to the characters. This volume though, the cinema stuff, the misunderstanding at university, just it was so funny. It was so funny. I loved it. It was so hilarious, and I really like Hori and Kashima, these two characters on the front. I think they're probably some of the best out of the entire cast of great characters, great range of personalities there. But these two are a lot of fun to read about, and there's a lot of them in this volume. So, yeah, if you're a fan of them and you're reading the manga, you should enjoy this one. It's very, very, very funny. Next are some older volumes for a series that we have most of, we being myself and my sister. But one of the volumes is really out of print, kind of everywhere, and incredibly expensive. I managed to find, well, it was a lot of the entire series, but they were selling it volume by volume as well. I managed to grab the volumes that we didn't have and paid under retail price for them. So I was super excited because honestly, volume 6 of this series goes for like 120 something US dollars, which is craziness. So, without further ado, that is Jormungand. So we have volume 2, volume 6, as I mentioned before, volume 10, and finally volume 11. So that's the entirety of Jormungand, the manga series. And yeah, if you like the series, the manga is great. It's a very straight adaptation of manga to anime, so you're not really missing anything if you just watch the show, but I like doing both. And Jormungand is quite interesting, like how it's presented. Much more a thinking show than a lot of series it's grouped with, like most notably Black Lagoon. It's not really just a shoot and ask questions later sort of series. There's a lot of cerebral thought stuff going on as well. It's less summer blockbuster and more of like an independent European film about the act of violence and war. Yeah, check it out. Jormungand is quite interesting series, and I really enjoyed it. I think it has, again, a great cast of characters, very different, and a lot of different motivations going on. But overall, very, very entertaining. And I'm glad that we managed to get the rest of the series without paying literal hundreds of dollars. And to the lovely girl I bought from online, from a website which is similar to Craigslist here in Australia called Gumtree. Yeah, she sold me her volumes that I wanted, which is kind of, I did ask and she said yes, so thank you, Rosie. You probably aren't watching this, but I really appreciate it because you really did me a solid and I saved a lot of money, and I'm glad that we were able to come to a deal and get it all sorted out. And finally is my only BL title, As Many As There Are Stars. As you can probably tell, published by June, or Digital Manga Publishing. This one's a weird one. I don't know. I read it and I like it, but I don't know if I like the characters. It's it's weird but interesting. Yeah, it's unusual. I think if you're kind of a fan of Miko House Matsumoto's other work, or if you kind of have read about this and want to try it, it is good. Like the art is good and the story is fairly interesting, but I wouldn't say buy it blind and then get into it just because it's not bad. Like, there's nothing really bad about it insofar as, like, a lot of what people would typically expect bad stuff to be in yaoi and BL. But yeah, it's a bit odd. It focuses a lot on, like, suicide and dissociation and isolation, which is not exactly the thing you expect when you're reading your fluffy BL stuff. So yeah, fair warning to everyone. It is different. And that's everything for this month, or at least I believe it is. It's the 27th, and I don't think I'm going to be getting anything on Monday. So, for all intents and purposes, this is the end of everything I got in May. Apologies, like I said, for such a long video, but thank you for staying until the end if you've made it this far. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye!